let me give you a quick recap of all the people who've come out against Arlen Specter now. And shockingly enough, they're all Republicans. First, the National Republican Senatorial Committee came out and said, Arlen Specter, yeah, we don't need him anyway. And besides, we're going to kick his ass when it comes down to an election in Pennsylvania. Yeah, right. The Republican in Pennsylvania, the last time around, lost by over, what was it, 16 or 18 points? I think it was 18 points Rick Santorum got destroyed by. And they're going to run a guy as conservative, or maybe even more conservative, than Rick Santorum against Specter or whoever wins the Democratic primary? Oh, please. That's false bravado, and it's obvious and transparent. And then Michael Steele, the chairman of the Republican Party, came out and said, good riddance to Specter. Yeah, way to make your party smaller and smaller. And the list goes on. Then we go to Rush Limbaugh, and he says not only good riddance to Arlen Specter, but he says take McCain and his daughter with you. You gotta love Rush, because he always finds a way to take it over the top, right? Not just, hey, Specter, you, and take McCain and take any other reasonable guy off the party, because I want to get smaller and smaller and smaller, but also I'll take a little jab at your daughter, too. Now, that's because, of course, Meghan McCain has been speaking out against extreme conservatives. And actually, she sounds like the most reasonable Republican around. And that's really sad. So then we go to Bill Kristol from Fox News and the Weekly Standard, one of the top neocons. Guess where he comes out on it? Again, these idiots. He's like, booyah! Oh, yeah, thank God we got rid of him. I think this is going to be fantastic for the Republican Party. No, you keep thinking that way. No, seriously, get rid of more people. Oh, it's going to be great for you. When you're down to like 2 senators, you're going to be like, finally! Ideological purity. It feels so good. Enjoy. Enjoy your minority status. His theory is, no, don't worry. We got this stuff on lockdown, okay? And after we lose more senators, we'll gain more senators. Because then the American people will see that they need checks and balances, and in the next election in 2010, that's when they're going to bring it, and they're going to say, I want even more Republicans. Here's my general thought on that. And you know what? The thing is, don't get me wrong. I understand where he's going with that. And could there be a little bit of a counterbalancing at some point? There could be. But if you look at state by state, race by race, that is not at all the direction that it's going. If you look at national numbers for the Republicans, that is not at all the direction that it's going. They're denying reality. I know reality has a well-known liberal bias, but it's going to continue to have that bias in the polls in 2010 as well. And overall, you know what? You lose by losing, and you win by winning. And so these guys are so proud that they lost Arlen Specter, and it is a dumb, dumb way to go. Now, you want to talk about dumb. We're going to bring you 2 excellent examples of that. First, Senator DeMint from South Carolina. He's going to go ahead and speak to Rick Sanchez on CNN. And this clip is fun, both for what DeMint says and for what Sanchez says. That guy's getting to be colorful, let's put it that way. He says some interesting things. Let's check it out.
I think 4 times as I was watching him and taking notes, he said the Republican Party has moved too far to the right. It's a party of extremes. The extremes in the party are taking over. Not enough people, regular people, to participate in the real GOP electorate. I mean, this was his message, sir. What do you, as an ardent Republican who's standing by your party, what do you say to that?
I don't think many Americans are going to agree that the Republican Party has become too conservative. If you look at our record of spending, our record on every issue, the problem I think we have is Americans no longer believe that we believe what we say we do.
You know, he seems to be saying that Republicans are making it very difficult for other Republicans to win because, and he said this on several times, you tell me what you think of it, you're shrinking the electorate to an extreme, to a point where a regular Republican can't win. What do you make of that argument?
Oh, that's quite the opposite. We're seeing across the country right now that the biggest tent of all is the tent of freedom. And what we need to do as Republicans is convince Americans that freedom can work in all areas of their life for every American, whether it's education or health care or creating jobs.
What the hell does that mean? The biggest tent is freedom. Freedom? I mean, you got to do better than that.
No, what it means is what has worked in America are free people, free markets for years. And what we see now is the government expanding into all areas of our economy and increasing spending and debt at levels we've never talked about. Americans who are normally not even political are coming out to tea parties and protesting. These aren't Republicans or Democrats.
Oh, please.
These are just concerned Americans. I think what we've seen is both parties have pushed the envelope too far, and now America is pushing back. I think you'll see this next election to be totally different. Pat Toomey, who's running in Pennsylvania, is one of the most mainstream Americans I know. He's for the simple concepts of limited government and more personal freedom, free markets, and that's what works in our country today, and that's what we need to stand up for as Republicans and I think as all Americans.
What do you do if the president reaches this 60-seat point? What would your strategy be to try and defeat any kind of legislation that he proposes then?
Well, that may be the best thing that could happen to the Republican Party right now, because people know those checks and balances are very important, and they've seen the Democrat Party overreach already. And if they began to expand spending in government programs because they have a couple more votes, I think there's going to be a lot of backlash from the American people. So what we need right now is Republicans to stand up for what they say they do, and that's limited government and more freedom.
Look, we already have an instant classic from that. Freedom? What are we talking about, freedom? Put that right next to practice in the playoffs. What about freedom? We're talking about practice, playoffs? Is that what we're talking about? Man, Rick Sanchez getting lively there. What did he say? What the hell does that mean? Man, getting up and at him. All right, I like it. But you know what? Somebody had to do it. See, I like this better. Okay, now we're having a conversation. Because you say this crap on TV, and what does it mean? No, we got this thing on lockdown because we're the party of freedom. Oh, really? What, are the Democrats the party of not freedom? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, all right, then I'm the party of liberty and oxygen and apple pie and hot girls. Well, actually, you know what? They'll give us that one. That's part of the reason we keep winning. Anyway, so he says, I don't know, not many Americans will say that the Republican Party is too conservative. Which country are you living in? Yes, many Americans say that all the time. That's your number one problem. And then he says, oh, no, you don't understand. These teabaggers, they're not Democrats or Republicans. They're just good mainstream Americans like my friend Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey is going to get destroyed in Pennsylvania. He's way too conservative for Pennsylvania. Mainstream my ass. Look, if Toomey wins in Pennsylvania, you come back and you say, Jay, you got that wrong, and you laugh and laugh and laugh, okay? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I would be shocked out of my mind if Pat Toomey won in Pennsylvania. It would be unbelievable. Now, these guys, and then finally he says, oh, this is the best thing that can happen for the Republican Party. Best thing. Well, under that logic, wouldn't it be better if you lost actually one or two more senators? Like if you lost Susan Collins or Olympia Snow, wouldn't that be even more kick-ass? Or maybe Chuck Grassley in Iowa. I don't know, I'm stretching here because I want it to be even better for the Republicans. Wouldn't it be great if you lost like 5 more senators or 10 more senators? Oh, God, that'd be great. Now, what if you were down to just like 5 senators? You and Inhofe and McConnell holding hands and being like, yes, we're so conservative, it's awesome. Would that work out for you? You clowns, you're headed in the wrong direction. Turn around. Turn around.